Okay. So, I know few of us have played before. Like I said, this is my first time running, or second time running Hearts of Wulin, but my first time I only got like a couple sessions into it. I'm kind of more used to the Car from Brindlewood structure, which has like a very strong phasic structure. Um, and this is a lot more freeform. So bear with me. This is going to be a learning experience for me. But has everyone here played together, or have folks? Cool. Let's go ahead and do just a quick. We'll do a round, a popcorn sort of introduction. So when you get done introducing yourself, pass it on to the next person. I'll start. My name is Kevin. Kevin Mack-yuu. I go by either Kevin or Mac. Any one of those works. Pronouns are he, him. And yeah, I'll just go ahead and pass it on to Mark.
Hey, I'm Mark. He or them. Um, and yeah, that's about it. I'll pass it on to Jesse.
Yeah, Jazzy, she, her. I think Mark is the only one that I haven't played with yet.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
So very excited for that. Looking
Yeah.
forward to it. And I haven't played Hearts of Woolen. I've only played the Arthur version because surprise. So I'm very excited to get into this. And I'll give it to Sabine.
Yeah, hi, I'm Celine. I use any pronouns. I've played Hearts of Woolen before. I did not know there was an Arthurian version of it, and now I'm very curious about that. Okay. Need to look that up.
Yeah, Hearts of Camelot. I play tested that.
Wow,
Yeah, very fun.
nice.
Cool. But this is not the Arthurian version. Although there's a little bit of overlap. Um, but yeah, let's go ahead and do cats. I'm just gonna read from the cat's document because I think it's fantastic. Um, Concept. In Hearts of Wulin, you play martial heroes like those you might have seen in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, or Hero. This is a fantastic version of classical China. You exist in a world slightly outside the normal order of society, like common folk or the imperial authority. In this world, factions and orders compete and scheme. Your characters have extraordinary athletic and fighting skills, but you're still bound by your heart. You'll find yourself in conflict with your loves, duties, desires, and emotions. Aim. Our aim for today, we're going to begin with character creation. Um, I think everybody's already chosen their playbook, and those represent an archetype, and we'll begin the development of your character's story. After character introductions, we'll create a web of entanglements which establish what drive your characters and how you're connected to the other characters and the underlying plot. After that, we'll like take a look at how much time we have left. If we have like an hour plus left, we might take like a nice chunky like 15-20 minute break, where I can work on engaging the entanglements with plot and setting elements. And if we do, then after we come back, I'll lay out an inciting incident. Actually, I've kind of already laid out the inciting incidents, but will get us into play. And my goal there, if we do continue playing, will be to get everybody to roll dice at least once. Um, if we can get farther than that, we will. But I just want to also establish a sort of realistic expectation of there's a very real possibility we might not get to actually into gameplay today, but we've got, like 7 sessions together. So I'm not terribly worried about that. So while the plot is important, we're really here for the melodrama. We'll interact with NPCs, bounce ideas off one another, face the pain of our entanglements, and from time to time, we'll smite some villains. Tone. Our tone is melodramatic. In these stories, emotions and reactions and passions are heightened. Our characters must maintain the facade in the face of trials. This should be played straight, serious, but not grim. There is room for comedy and humor here, but it should complement the play rather than drive it. Characters may be laughing in one scene and then cradling their dying lover in the next. It's not always heartbreak, though. Sometimes you'll find your love, but often the world will conspire against that. And then subject matter. Our stories involve combat to settle issues large and small. You'll often be working to aid or advance your family or faction by solving problems. But the stories will also revolve around betrayal, heartbreak, romance, unrequited love, duty, and saving face. Fighting will serve as an escape valve to the pressure of these emotional issues. Now, of course, no game is as important as its players, and to that end, we have a few safety tools in play. These are the bog standard. Pretty much, I think everybody's familiar with them, but let's go over them anyways. It's going to be lines and veils, the X card, and the open door policy. X card in the context of an online call. Essentially, just if there is content that we have strayed into, either myself or another player, and you find that content unsavory or triggering, get my attention somehow. Either type in the Zoom chat X, reach out to me in a private message on Discord, or simply interrupt the call and state, hey, I need to X card something. If for whatever reason someone is trying to get my attention, I might not have that specific window up and visible on my screen. So if somebody is posting in Zoom chat, for example, like XXXXX, and I'm just rambling on, help them out, get my attention. Because yeah, I've got God knows how many windows and tabs in those windows open. So I might not see everything. But if the X card is invoked, we will pause play. I may have to ask for clarity on what specifically is being X carded, but I will not ask why. We'll move back to a period before that content was introduced into the story, find a way to alter it as needs be, depending on the fiction, and we'll move forward from there. Lines and veils work hand in hand with that. On our safety tab, we've got a whole list of lines and veils. And just for the sake of shared definition, lines are content that will not exist in this game whatsoever, will not be referred to, and just won't occur. So we've got some lines here on cannibalism, homophobia, transphobia, racism, sexual assault, sexual violence, and vomits. Those things are just not going to be happening in this story at all whatsoever. A veil is content that can occur in the story or can be mentioned or referred to, but we're not going to play it out actively. So it can be stuff that occurs in a backstory. It can be stuff that occurs with a Hitchcock style focus shift, fade to blacks, and things of that nature. And yeah, and that sort of idea. We do have some ask first, so keep those in mind. And then we do have one market interest of childhood abandonment. So I'll see if I can find a way to factor that in. Also, of course, like I said, there's the listed subject matter that I went through, things like romance, heartbreak. You can take a safe bet that those are going to be appearing in the story. Fantastic. Lines and Veils, of course, is living documents. If you are ever concerned about possibly straying into Lines and Veils, of course, feel free to pause game really quickly and go check the safety tab if you need to. Yeah, and I think there's all there. And then, of course, the open door policy simply states that you are allowed to leave the game at any time for any duration, for any reason. You do not need to justify yourself. Whether that is a doorbell or an important phone call, or everything up to this is not the game for me. This is not what I was expecting and hoping for. And I just think it would be better for everyone if I did not continue playing, or even just myself. Yeah, if you do make use of the open door policy, I would take it as a kindness. If you know when you will be able to return or if you will not be returning, to just let me know. Again, it's not a requirement. Like I said, I would just take that as a kindness, especially if it's going to be something where it's like, again, this is not the game for me. You can simply say, I'm using the open door policy. I'm not planning on returning for the rest of the game. Yeah. Any questions about our safety tools? Fantastic. And then, of course, yeah, if you have a sort of lexicon of like pause, fast forward, things like that, I don't necessarily feel any need to codify those, but if they, if those words come up, that's also fine as well. Cool. What else? Just kind of a little last note on the setting. Hearts of Wulin plays out in a mythical vision of China. It will look a lot like China, but in the same way that Lord of the Rings looks like Europe by way of New Zealand. We're going to aim to honor the stories that inspired this game, but and so to that end, we're going to try and treat that material with respect. We might reference techniques and tropes of these sources, but we're not going to mock them. For example, in a lot of wuxia TV, there's flimsy sets, bad dubbing, obvious wire work. And those were a product of the budgets and resources of the filmmakers. We should celebrate what they managed to accomplish within those constraints. And then, of course, don't do accents. Just don't. And then, of course, as you can see, I am a pasty white guy. A lot of wuxia stories were TV shows based on novels that have then found their way across the interwebs. Yeah, so if we need to come up with the mythology in the moment, we'll do so. If you are somebody who has experience in these things, of course, feel free to speak up and add to the fiction. This is going to be a living world that we are going to produce together. And I can't wait to go on that journey with you all. With that all in mind, I think we can go into talking about characters. I will just go ahead and reintroduce the sort of sync that I've developed so far. Well, actually, no, we'll deal with that later. It looks like you've all had a chance at least to sort of glance at that. But it looks like we've got some characters already ready to go. Let's just go in character keeper order. Yeah, everybody's I will say if you want to reserve your second move, feel free. If you want to just like hold on to it for when you feel like you need it, if you don't know what you want your second move to be, that's totally fine. And then when you figure out what you want it to be, just go ahead and throw it in there. But you start with your roll move and then 2 chosen moves underneath that. But yeah, let's go in character keeper order, left to right. Sabine, I would love to hear about Red Crane.
Yeah, okay. I am going to play Red Crane, he or they. Red Crane is a student. He's an exorcist. And his moves are going to be, well, exorcist, so he can, I guess, ward himself or others from malign forces and create a barrier and stuff like that. He can also has the move Under the Power, where he can protect a group of innocent bystanders. And it's the Book of Heroes. When a nearby ally would mark an element, I mark the element instead. So this is a very protective guy, I guess. That's kind of the theme of this person. The background I envisioned for him was that he was born on an unlucky day. That was not his fault, but his parents were like, okay, we need to do something with this child. So they gave him to a monastery because they thought that the monastery might mitigate the unluck, right? That might help. When Red Crane was about 12 or 13, the monastery got attacked by some supernatural force. And he had learned how to protect himself, and he did, but everybody else was not so lucky. So he was a little traumatized by the whole thing, and now has sworn that he would never be unable to protect those he loves, like back then. He's very intense. He's very focused. Um, yeah, yeah, that's basically him. And I have written out two entanglements that I might lean towards.
Sure.
I've written the romantic one. I love blank, but my parent blank considers me too unlucky to move forward with this. Could also be the other person's parent. It would be some authority figure considers me too unlucky to do this.
Mhm.
Yeah. And the other one would be all of my monastery died in a horrible tragedy, but my friend blank claims to have seen my mentor blank in Princess Invincible's and Entourage.
I was going to ask if there were any survivors of your monastery, but it sounds like they were wiped
Not
out
the
to a man.
that is what Red Crane thinks, yes,
Mhm.
but it's his memory is not super clear of that.
Of course, and in stories like this, certainly you're free to believe. I guess yeah. Let me rephrase that. Does Red Crane believe all of the monastery was wiped out?
Yes, that is what he always thought, but if
Great,
somebody tells him that his mentor might be alive, then wow,
absolutely
wow, okay,
fantastic.
that mind
Um,
blown.
fantastic. Okay. Do we have a name for this monastery, or do we want to just kind of like leave that nebulous for a little bit longer?
Let's leave that nebulous for a little bit longer. That might be related to something that happened during 22 years ago.
Sure. Yeah.
I think my character would be too young to have actually had any part of that, but yeah.
Yeah, and I'll state that like that 22 years ago has a little bit of wiggle room. The idea being that it's the previous generation. People who were not born or born slightly after the events might now be just entering the Wulin world. I just wanted to leave that sort of door open. But if we need to move that to like 30 years ago, that's also possible, you know. Yeah, great. And so if 12 years ago the monastery was attacked, uh
I don't know if it was 12 years ago. I
okay.
was
Oh, you
12
were
at that
12. Got
point,
it, got it, got it.
but I mean it might have been 12 years ago. I
Yeah,
might
yeah,
be
yeah.
24 or 22 or something like that. I'm
Yeah.
fairly young.
Yeah, we'll want to figure out a timeline of events at some point, but that's a good place to start with now. And yeah, you've got a sword and quill based style in metal. That's
Yeah, I do.
exciting.
I do.
Um,
I write words into the air and throw them at my opponents, which does not much to ordinary human beings. They might feel a little depressed maybe if I do it right, but with spirits, that's another story.
all right. Awesome. I love that. Fantastic. I think that's enough to go on for a good start. Let's move on to is it Zhuojin?
Shuishin.
Shuishin. Nice.
It's how I would pronounce it
I'm
with
gonna get
my
that
Xi'an
wrong at
accent.
least like once or twice more. Bear with me.
Yeah,
But
I think to make it easier, I think just calling her Sin would also work. And then we have a little bit of a wordplay because it sounds like Sin.
I love
Um,
it.
so yeah, so Shui Xin is the villain role. So the general concept that I had for her, she, her pronouns. Maybe to tie it in a little bit with the big thing. So the text for the reborn is you literally died and came back to give yourself another shot at something. Redemption, vengeance, love, plotting. Something came back with you, a spirit, a ghost, a monster, which remains visible only to you. It possesses unusual senses of some kind. I think I'm gonna pick the one tracing the broken-hearted back to those who wronged them. And yeah, I think the general idea is I think we're going to go kind of classic, race as an assassin. Maybe even I forgot the name of like the people that got wiped out 22 years ago, but I was thinking maybe I was like a child at that point, like 5, 6 years old, whatever. And Princess Invisible, she was wiping everyone out, but she was like, "You are an actual child, and I'm not insane, so I'm not going to kill you," right? But I think either someone adopted me and the trauma of like that day caused them to also go evil, or me and like one other person managed to escape, whichever one we think is more interesting. If it's like important that we think everybody got wiped out that day, then I'm totally fine. If we're like a hero like reluctantly adopted me and then like fell further and further into darkness and basically also raised me as an assassin, but thought they were like doing the right thing or something. But the general gist is I was not a good person. I killed a lot of people. I schemed my way into court, probably like poisoned some people to be like a concubine and work my way up. But then I was betrayed, and I don't know who, but someone killed me. Except by that point, a demon had fallen in love with me and my delicious, beautiful karma, carnage. And like some scheming, I think like how much I know of what actually happened in the underworld, we're gonna find out. It'll depend on the tone that we go with. But they brought me back. They're still here. And I was kind of going, and if we feel like that's too silly, but I feel like it is like kind of silly, but also has very melodramatic potential, is basically a twist in like being betrayed that way like really sort of woke her up like if I keep doing this like it always ends here. When I was a child everybody died. Now I was left to rot and die alone, and maybe I am the factor here, right? Maybe I need to be better. But I think the demon is very much like, no, don't be good, you're so sexy when you're evil. Like don't be like this. And they're kind of like keeping like they want me to be like chaotic and kind of evil, and like not evil for evil's sake, but they don't want me to be a shining hero either, right? That's not why they brought me back. So I'm just sort of constantly between, am I just evil? Should I do what this demon says? Or should I be better? Because, man, it kind of sucks when everybody constantly keeps dying, and I don't really want to go through that again. But then again, is this going to save me? Or am I just pissing off the thing that saved me? Like that's, I think, sort of the conflict here. I picked one move because I think like her general thing is that she feels like people make her worse and she makes people worse, right? So I picked Love and Destiny. You draw others into your fate. Once per session, you may declare that an NPC you have a bond with is present or will arrive at the scene you're in. I wasn't sure about my other move. I was thinking either Crimson Charm, but I do want to check in if we think that's interesting because that's basically like me being the gruff anti-hero and being like, you're being nice to me, and I'm like, don't think I did it for you, idiot. I'm just here because, you carried a book, and if you die, it's annoying for everyone. I don't care about you. Um, that kind of thing. Or because Sabine just said that her guy is like, or like the character that you're playing is like super protective. I also have a move where I go off alone to fight people. So that also feels like it could bring some really interesting drama then between those. If I feel like, oh no, I just always need to fight alone, and you're like, no, I need to protect you. So I don't know if people feel like one of those is more interesting because I'm fine with either. I got hit with choice paralysis pretty hard, to be honest.
Happens a lot when you look at that playbook
Yep.
list, the move list.
There's so many.
I
I was
know.
like, I already waffled so hard on like the playbook and the role. I was like, I don't make me decide moves. I can't do it. And I was like, wait, there's more, and I can also take those.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
I do like the Crimson Charm though.
yeah, okay.
I,
Then I
I
think
mean,
I'll.
I mean,
It's pretty classic.
yeah,
It's pretty
yeah,
funny.
yeah, yeah. And I feel it
Yeah.
fits your character pretty well, right?
Yeah, I think I'm going for like that classic like I want to like character-wise I want to keep it a bit open because I usually kind of pick what I feel like we don't have
Yeah.
already. But I feel like, typical brooding I want to be good, but also I don't. I don't know how this works, and it's awkward, like that kind of.
Yeah. I will say that my experience with this game, and this is something I've heard Lowell say as well, is like your role and playbook moves are cherries on top.
Mm,
The vast majority of your interface, your dice rolling, will probably be with the basic
the
moves.
basic moves. That makes
Um,
sense.
yeah, so like even less than something like the between, where like the core moves come up a lot. This if you don't encounter a like your role move or a playbook move in an entire session, it's not entirely unreasonable.
Hmm.
But they're also there to, add that extra spice. Or like I was saying at the top of the call, um, they're also in some ways an implicit form of wish of like the kind of content you want to engage in. So if you take something like Crimson Charm, um, then that kind of content is something that we'll hopefully try and engage with together.
Hmm.
So yeah, there's
Yeah, I
yeah,
think for now I'll take that one. Maybe if it's okay, and I'm like, actually, I don't care for this move.
yeah,
I'll
absolutely.
just change it. Yeah.
I'm totally fine with people like at the end of especially like the first couple sessions, being like, that move doesn't really jive with how I see this character. Yeah, absolutely. Feel free to.
Yeah. I think especially because I really like the Love and Destiny move. So I think I'm leaning like past twice more to I got like sort of forced upon another hero by Princess Invisible, who like for some reason felt indebted to her and was like, oh, she didn't want to kill this child, so I'll take care of them. And then they also fell into darkness. And I think the whole core is like I feel like I just make people bad. And now there's like an actual demon, so not
Yeah.
super helpful for not thinking that. What else? Oh, my fighting style is I have twin blades and I have like I'm like dressed all in like red hanfu and I have like a black cape because of course. And the lining of the cape is just like lined with poison darts. And I'll just like do like a swoosh with my cape and just shoot out like a bunch of poison darts.
Amazing. Love it.
I think that's
Fantastic.
it.
Yeah.
All right.
And yeah. So I deliberately did not define Princess Invincible's sword school name. If you want to, if that is the faction that you think you belong to, then we can figure that name out together, or whatever uh, the assassin group that raised you as well might be a
Mhm.
good faction to ally yourself with, and we can come up with the important figures there.
All
But
right.
for now, let's take a look at Jianghu.
Yeah. Zhang is goes by any pronouns. They are a Bravo, the Gallivant variety, which means that I travel from place to place celebrating, gambling, and leaving a trail of broken hearts um, with a bad reputation. And staying just slightly ahead of trouble. Um, I took the moves come drink with me, which means I can just like charm people into coming places with me, which looks like fun. And it takes a thief, which lets me slip from bonds and pass through locked doors and windows as if they were open. And it extends to my fighting style as well, which is called Beggar's Drum. It's a water style, and the drum in question is a wine jug, so like halfway between like drunken style and like waterbending, I guess, flowy. Um, and they use mostly their clothes, a cloth. They have flowing scarves and stuff like that, and so that'll be their style with that. Background wise, I don't have anything super nailed down. I think it might be fun to be I don't necessarily want to be another orphan, I guess, if we already have one of those. So maybe one of my siblings was one of the heroes that was killed either back in the day, or part of the Yellow Lotus security. Um, and not in like a my family vengeance type of way, but just like, oh, that sucks. Anyway, um, let's go drink and do some romance to pretend that didn't happen in my brain, which is always a great idea. Um, so yeah, if yeah, I think I can kind of discover that in play, unless it's super important to nail that down now.
Um, it might be a little more important in entanglements, but really just
Yeah,
kind of like to get us into. But I'm definitely open to like leaving significant chunks of backstory gray and fuzzy.
cool.
Um,
I
awesome.
put a couple entanglements just from the playbook. The romantic one, I fled from someone because of a heartache, but their lover has called me back to honor a debt, which is super juicy. And the general one, I discovered my sibling had been learning techniques from the master of an enemy clan, which also might be fun. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I think now that we've got an idea of who these characters are, and sort of our various different factions and folks that we might entangle ourselves with. And again, like I said, the any proper nouns in the big sink are negotiable, mutable, changeable, to help fit. That's just kind of a starting point to begin with. Um, yeah. That's what I was looking for. Fantastic. So now the way that I've always seen entanglements done, and I kind of like doing it that way, is to go back through and you either pick your romantic or your general, and we'll try and like nail something down, and then move on to the next person. And whoever is the third person in this case will do both their romantic and general, and we'll go backwards in reverse order. Um, but that said, does anybody have a strong feeling for either of their? Oh, and actually, before we get into that, I should say, you're going to have four character slots in your entanglements, like the first blank and second blank. Um, at least one of those four should have a PC in it. Totally fine to have an entanglement that is double NPC, especially in a 3-player game. That's actually kind of expected. Um, but at least one of your entanglements should involve one of the other player characters. With that in mind, does anybody have a strong inclination with what we've set up so far for either of their first entanglements?
I don't know necessarily the first part, but for the romantic one, uh, Red Crane, do you think it would make sense for you to be the lover that's called me back to honor a debt?
Um, yes, I think so. Yeah, sure. Sure, why not?
Yeah. And then I guess whoever the first slot is whoever your person is.
I can we make that maybe they're my not my lover, but somebody else?
Yeah, sure.
Would that work? Because I don't see Red Crane as somebody who would love someone and then be the lover of another. Oh, of course, he might have gotten himself entangled in that way. So that might actually work. He's in a relationship that he doesn't know how to get out of.
Mm-hmm.
I will also say that entanglements, or I'll remind folks as well. Entanglements are from your character's assumed perspective. They are not necessarily true. So if so for the example, the easy example here being if Jung-hoo's romantic entanglement is that they fled from such and such a person and Red Crane is their lover, Red Crane doesn't necessarily have to be their lover, but Jung-hoo certainly believes that they are.
Okay.
I got it.
And similarly,
Yeah,
like
okay.
to sort of address something that that Jazzy had asked, at least implicitly asked earlier, the stuff in the big sink about things like the Wicked Pavilion being wiped out to a man is an assumed truth based on the story that was told. Treat everything that I have said up till now and everything that we say in Entanglements as unreliable narrators.
Cool.
And it will make things flow a lot easier because, yeah, these things are not necessarily accurate.
Awesome.
But that said, the things that we know and assume about these characters could also be true too if you wanted to make it work a little bit, more tightly. But
cool. So I'll fill in my I fled from blank with whoever Red Crane's I love blank is.
Do either of you have an idea of who Red Crane might at least be believed to be in love with?
I don't know.
Also, feel free to look at the NPC tab.
Yeah.
Same thing with the NPC tab. I have a bunch of characters with names here. None of them have any permanence or attachment to the story. They're literally there for their names to be changed and integrated into stories. But if you're like, oh, Wolf Smoke would work perfect here, that's fantastic. Or if you're like, oh, Wolf Smoke works perfect here, but can we change their name to blah, 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 or alternatively, Sky Daughter Xiao works here, but can we use that name for the top picture row, whatever. All of that stuff is mutable. Yeah.
Okay. So let's figure this out, Mark. So you fled from this person, and you think I'm their lover, and maybe I am.
Yeah, and the heartache is, I don't know if I was I wasn't even involved with them. It was just like, oh, I can't stand being near them because.
I mean, I could also say I love blank, but everybody thinks I'm X's lover,
right?
Which is also a really fun entanglement.
That's really nice. Really. Yeah.
Any NPCs sticking out?
Dancing Phoenix?
Sure.
Mark? Yeah. For you?
Sounds great.
Okay. Cool. Probably because I have never figured out how to tell people that I'm not and how to tell her that I'm not.
Fantastic.
Let's see.
Yeah. I would give Mark, I would give all my monastery died in a horrible tragedy, but my friend claims to have seen my mentor in Princess Invincible's entourage. I think that might make sense if that was Shang-Hu, because you're a traveler, right?
Cool. So this would be the general entanglement, and you're saying your friend Zhang-Hu claims to have seen your mentor.
Yeah.
Dot.
Okay. Yeah, I'll figure out a name. And is it okay for you, Jazzy, if I'm if I secretly love Jin?
Absolutely.
Cool. Then I will take that.
It won't be okay with Sin, but it's totally fine with me.
I mean,
maybe you do it secretly, which at least is better than doing it openly.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't want you to get involved with me. I'm unlucky.
Exactly. And I am super lucky. Nothing bad has ever happened to me.
Yeah, that's why this should never happen.
Exactly.
Very good.
Since we're on that entanglement, the general entanglement for Red Crane, do you have
yes.
a mentor? Yes. Or do you see somebody in the NPC tab that would function? Also, I should say in our Playdoc and resources tab, I've got one board from Agatha, and I'm actually going to put up another one from Lowell. That's just like Pinterest boards of people in Wuxia and Zhansha to be used at your leisure.
I like Bitter Claw.
Bitter Claw, where are you? There you are.
He's in
Yeah.
yeah, line 70 something.
Yeah, awesome. So this is Red Cranes. Oh, actually, so it'd be connection. Ba-ba-dum. Okay. So Bitter Claw is your mentor.
Mhm.
Um, is Dancing Phoenix in your faction, or is she a? I'm also presuming her pronouns. Please correct me if you have different ideas on that. Um, is Dancing Phoenix in your faction, or is she in a different Wulin sect? Are you friend? You clearly have to be close enough friends for Jiang Hu to assume that you're lovers. Um,
I don't know. What are the factions we're in? I don't want
uh,
to define everything right now because I
sure.
feel like I've talked a lot.
Yeah,
I
no
would
worries.
like to hear some other people.
I have a couple just like pre-ready to go factions. One of them actually is the Phoenix School of Medicine. Um, and in my head, they are sort of doctors and physicians of the martial arts world. Um, and Dancing Phoenix could work in that group, mostly because the shared name. Um, that's an option. Let's go ahead and table that really quickly then, and we can circle back around to it. Uh, uh, Shushin, um, what about your entanglements? You got any strong ideas here?
Yeah. So I think I gave up villainy, and I do want to stress that that was like, maybe 2 weeks into me being like, maybe I shouldn't be evil. I got killed or something, right? Like I think it's like that sort of that's that like very tragic element where I decided to give up this life of villainy. And then immediately I got betrayed and like this really bad thing happened to me. So I was sort of like immediately like, or maybe I won't. Maybe I will be a villain actually. But I think I did that for I want to make myself someone. Okay, I'm going to direct this at you, Jianghu. Do you think either we knew each other and there was something there, or do you think because you kind of like, you're this hero like fighter type, right? Do you think we were rivals and
Mhm.
like I was a bad guy that you wanted to hunt down?
Yeah, let's do rivals because I might want to slot you in a second part of my general entanglement too. So that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, then I gave up my villainy to make myself someone that Skydaughter Xiao could love. But a rival from my past has begun to woo them, and that rival, I mean, if I interpret this correctly, then I'm filling in the name of that rival, right?
Mm,
Because
yes.
the name is like at the end,
Yeah.
but I'm assuming that I'm gonna do it like this, because otherwise
A
I'm not gonna understand.
rival from my past has begun
And to
to
woo them, and then
them.
it gets like the line for the name.
Baru. Um, I feel like the line makes more sense if it comes from rival at from my past. You know?
Right? Yeah, like the rival from my past, Jianghu, has begun
Yeah,
to woo them, right? Yeah.
yeah. Let's switch that up. I feel like that just makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, because I was like, we already know who the them is, presumably, the
Mm-hmm.
person, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll make it her, because I think it's her. But yeah, I think Sky the other Xia was maybe um like she got like a very like knightly so I think maybe she was like the guard or something for like whatever official that I was trying to like position myself to take over. and maybe she was like a guard there and she got kind of suspicious. And I was like, oh, wait, she's so good and so perfect, and I'm gonna be not evil. And then I immediately died. And I think the current conflict is probably that I too think that Jianghu is probably better for her. Because nobody ever killed you because you're evil, which at least is like a little bit of a step up, right?
We'll see.
Yeah.
How recent was your death? Is this a death and reincarnation type thing, or are you a spirit who like took over somebody else's body?
I think it's like a death and resurrection thing, but I do like the thought that people like think I'm dead. Like I think Xuexin is not my original name,
Okay.
right? Like I used to have a different name. I died, which might also be like why Tianhu. Like I don't think we can leave it open whether you know that I was that rival or whether I know that, you were and I'm upset about it. Um, but yeah, I think it's like let's say fairly recent.
Sure.
Like I think a matter of year, like a few years, like definitely not I didn't die like at the original moment, right? Like maybe a year or two.
Okay.
Long enough that it's like people still know what I did, and there might still be like repercussions and all of that, but it's also like you'd be forgiven if you're not mourning me anymore. Like if there was indeed anyone who ever did, but like you'd be forgiven if you're like that person who? I don't. Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, yeah, they died. That's kind of sad, isn't it?
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Um, and is it safe to assume that you still look like because you're resurrected? Um,
Hmm.
did your look significantly change at all, or can somebody like who was there like point at you and go, "Oh, you're the villain, so and so. You definitely died."
Yeah. I think the most interesting option here is kind of like if you knew me closely, you would be able to tell. Like my looks didn't change, but because of like my villainous act, I was like often, in the shadows or wearing a veil. But like Sky thought or Xiao, if she gets like a longer look at me, she might absolutely be like, wait, weren't you that girl that hold up? So there definitely might be people that recognize me and that know that I should be dead and I'm not.
Fantastic. Um, cool. Uh, duh, duh, duh. So yeah, like if she hears your voice or something, or
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
Like it's more like I think like my soul was literally like just put back into my body and then through magic, however long I was actually dead for, like I don't look dead necessarily. So like some things might have changed, but you can tell that it's me.
do you know who resurrected you or how you were resurrected? I I'm assuming it was a
Yeah.
third party, but you could also just have been so angry at ghosts you kicked your own ass way out of the underworld too. Um,
Yeah, I think Xuexian, she believes that the demon, like, because the demon was in love with her, like, they made a deal and they, like, basically was like, let's be rebels and escape the underworld together because fuck this place. I want to be where the humans are and cause some chaos. And basically, like, their two souls, like, escaped together, which is also why the demon wanted to help her because human souls can go back. Demons typically don't. However, there might have been someone else involved, but I think in that case, Ration, like basically, I know what happened in the underworld. I don't know if there was any part of like the human world, the human realm that like helped or did anything with that.
sure. Let's talk about this demon. We should probably get them a
A name.
name and possibly at least a humanoid appearance, maybe from the NPC tab. Though they could also, if you want them to
Yeah.
just be like an ox or a horse demon, they can be that too. But in this sort of genre of fiction, I feel like they would have a humanoid appearance.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like that is an important connection for your character, especially because they have a significant impact on your move.
They sure do.
Um,
Yeah, I'm looking at one of those. I think that it should be like a veiled or a masked person, right? So I feel like they probably have a tell where people know they'd be a demon if they are too obvious about it.
Probably, yeah. I mean, or do they only appear to you, or do they physically manifest in the? They probably physically manifest in the world. Um, to
Yeah,
like
I feel like
talk
they
to you.
typically
Yeah,
only like appear to me, but maybe it's like a case where they can for like
yeah.
shorter periods or like um, I like this. That's a very
Um,
dramatic picture. Let me put that. As for a name, me. Oh yeah, I mean let's keep it easy. Let's make them like a person with like those Chinese demon masks, right? Like why be so about it? Um,
yeah, I've got a few masked NPCs down there. Here in the keeper. If any of them make sense.
I think I just refer to them as oh, why am I blanking on the word? I just refer to them as Datye, which means like big sister. It's like a way to address a close person who's like slightly older than you.
And which is there a specific NPC you were looking at?
Um,
Or
let's see.
probably should get more slots in here just in case.
Ooh, you know what? I'm gonna take the NPC that's called Void and I'm gonna use that picture because it's a cool picture.
Fantastic. Yeah, and we can say that, she's either masked or veiled.
Hmm.
And that picture is when she's under the mask or veil. Um, Fantastic. And they are in love with you, yes?
Um, I think so, but I think it's maybe more of an I'm in love with your carnage kind of thing.
Got it.
Where there might definitely be more to it, but I think at least Tuition believes like they were just like so fascinated by the sheer chaos and like hurt that I inflicted on the world. And they were like, that's so much more fun than like sitting here in the underworld and having to do like bureaucracy. I'm gonna be with you in this world and let's see what we can fuck up. So they probably really, really hate Sky Daughter Xiao, which I don't know if that should be a connection, but I assume that they want her dead really badly because she's
Uh,
making me good and that's boring.
I mean, is that something that we can do as that would give you two entanglements with Sky Daughter
Hmm.
Xiao.
Yeah, I don't know if that's too much.
Um, I don't know either, actually. Uh, 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 hmm.
I guess if we want to do one, I could maybe instead of like Sky Daughter Xiao, maybe Red Crane is also someone who makes me better because Sabine said that they're like overly like earnestly sincere. So I imagine that my demon would also really hate Red Crane.
Oh yeah, your demon
Oh yeah.
probably hates
And
everyone.
I'm also an exorcist, which is actually might be a threat to them. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh
no,
yeah, yeah.
I
So us
doubt.
being buddies is probably like,
Yeah.
maybe don't do that. Maybe just kill him.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't recognize any of this because I am also in love with you, which I will never acknowledge because I don't want to bring that back to you. Also
Yeah.
believe.
And is that a general entanglement that we can do? Something like, I care for Red Crane, but Datye wants him gone or wants it to
Yeah.
hurt him or something. Is that a fair one?
I mean,
Yeah.
if you know Red Crane is an exorcist,
Hmm.
and you also know you have a demon friend, buddy, yeah, what is Shishin's feelings towards this demon? They resurrected you.
Ooh. Yeah.
Um,
So yeah, I feel like it's I mean, first of all, yeah, I feel like there is that debt. And I think that, again, Hyosin believes very much like if this demon is gone, I die again, right? Like I only live through the
oh,
power of this demon, right? Like they are keeping my soul here and protecting me from the underworld. If that connection is severed, I'm out. Like, like it's not like a clean resurrection where I just get to live again. It's like,
mhm, mhm.
like a constant renewing kind of. Whether that's true or has to stay true, we can find out, but that's what Sin believes. Um, and yeah, I think we've probably I died and woke up again. So there's probably like a good year or so where it was just us, right? Where I was just like really angry at the world and where this demon kept like feeding that. So I think it's like a weird I don't know if I always like you, but I absolutely do need you. And you're also like the person that, like the thing that I can always count on, like that kind of codependency, one might say.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if the entanglement could be, uh, something that endears you to Red Crane. You have you have this friend Red Crane, but Red Crane will absolutely destroy this demon
Mm.
if
I
he
would
knows it exists, right?
because I believe I would assume that that demon is harassing you or lying to you or something, right?
Yeah, and I mean, you wouldn't be fully wrong. They are definitely
Yeah,
not
yeah.
making me a nicer person.
Yeah.
Entanglements don't have to be false, they
Yeah,
can
I
absolutely be
mean,
true,
yeah,
right?
you are
Um,
fully correct that that's not a good relationship to have.
mhm.
Yeah, how would I phrase that? Um,
Why not have the whole picture
I
with the whole, oh, you might die if that demon goes. That might
Yeah.
change things. Oh no,
maybe
can I roll for inner conflict now?
maybe something like I want to get closer to Red Crane, but must keep Dati a secret, or but I'm if they find out about Dati. I might die. Like, I don't know how to like
Um,
word it, I guess.
I mean, you can go very simple. I am friends with Red Crane, but my demon hates him. There we go.
Yeah.
Or,
But he
I
wants
mean,
to destroy my demon. Uh
I don't
uh
even know that that is a demon,
Yeah,
that the
I feel
demon
like it's more
exists.
about keeping that secret, right? Like I want to get
Yeah,
closer, but there's like the distance where I'm like,
yeah,
if I get too close and you being an exorcist, even if I
yeah,
don't tell you, you might like see the signs or something,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
because Red Crane
yeah,
would, if Red Crane finds out that a demon is de facto possessing you, because
Yeah.
Dajie
mm,
is how you are existing
mm,
in this world. So it is basically a form of possession.
Yeah.
yeah. Then I
And
would
it,
exorcise you, just to
yeah,
help you, of course. I mean, I don't know that. that would be a problem for you.
Yeah, and Red Crane might just, hate you for it. And that's worse than trying to kill you. That's emotions.
That's what you suspect. Yes, of
Yeah.
course. I would look down on you and I wouldn't, but you don't know that
Fully, no, yeah.
because I'm in love with you, which you don't know.
Which I don't know because that's not possible. Who would be in love with me? That's very silly.
Of course. Um I think what we can do, since you mentioned to go back to your other entanglement, and I'll get to everybody else here. I don't. We've been on this for a hot second, but while it's on my mind,
Yeah.
Sky Daughter Xiao, we can make her the sole survivor of the Yellow Lotus, because they're an escort bureau. So somebody who is a guard, or in that sort of escort service. Not escort service the way that we refer to it.
Yeah, I was like, okay, sure.
Escort, as in I will get you from point A to point B, safe from bandits. Not I will get you from point A to point B in the bedroom.
Maybe both. Maybe she's multi-classing.
Yeah, no judgment. But that might be a good way to get you kind of like synced in is if she's part of this Yellow Lotus, and in fact the sole survivor, that could be a good in. What do you think?
Yeah, I love that.
Cool.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Great, because that's part of like the inciting incident that I'm borrowing this from. Sole survivor is a friend of the NPCs, so that solves that mystery.
And Zhang Hu is wooing Sky Daughter thing, Chao, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool. And she's the bodyguard escort thingy.
Yeah, she
Okay,
works.
cool.
She works / worked for the Yellow Lotus escort bureau, and they probably have an office here in whatever town this is. Probably needs a name at some point. We'll solve that problem when we get to it, and might in fact actually be like a guard or a mercenary guard for the local ruling or administrative
So
house.
is she in hiding, or since she's the only survivor of this whole thing?
In
Like, is she hiding that she was a survivor of this thing, or is she like, yeah, I'm the only survivor, huh?
in my head, the inciting incident, the destruction of Yellow Lotus, like happened last night, or we might even start like
Oh, okay.
in the middle of
Okay.
it.
Ah, I
Now
see. I
that
see. Okay.
that
Okay.
is certainly open to negotiation, but that's
Okay.
kind of
Okay. Okay.
um
I misremembered that. I thought that
no,
had
that's that
happened
uh
before.
yeah, I threw a lot of like proper noun stuff out there just to kind of give you guys
Like,
tons of stuff to attach to.
it's very wuxia, which is like usually why I I can't go further than like the first 5 minutes because they're like throwing 10 different names at me and like I don't have context for any of these
Right,
people.
absolutely. So hopefully we'll find some. Yeah, the way that I'm thinking of it right now is the Yellow Lotus. They were at the battle. I think 22 years ago they were um just a brotherhood, maybe just a couple Wulin warriors who banded together, trained together. But in the events afterwards, they grew into a full-on escort bureau, and now they protect wealthy merchants and nobles and stuff going
Oh, okay.
from town to town. Um,
Yeah, I think that makes sense because then she could have been like guarding a magistrate or like again sort of whoever I was trying to basically like usurp. And then maybe after I died, went into, for whatever reason, went into like Yellow Lotus, and then this happened.
I wonder if there's any connection about the monastery where I'm well, the tragically eviscerated monastery and this yellow lotus thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's explore that angle. Um, so when you were 12, they got wrecked.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and I think it was something supernatural that maybe there's a connection with the big sister. Who knows? But I wouldn't know that.
What
uh,
if Yellow Lotus sort of like is specifically known to be like an escort bureau for when people are like
Supernatural.
transporting supernatural shit?
Yeah, that's
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
Oh, I
Okay.
like that.
So
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
like they were exporting something or like should have done that and then something went
Ah.
wrong and that was unleashed in your monastery.
Yeah, and then that.
Yeah. Maybe that was what they brought something to the monastery. Like you can keep this safe, right? In the monastery,
Mhm.
sure we can.
Yeah, because you
And
always go into a monastery in the
yeah,
mountains
I
to
mean,
dump
you
your
ba
artifacts.
basically have to, but then something went wrong, and whatever they brought was released and killed all the monks.
Yeah.
Most of the
Yeah,
monks. I mean, they didn't kill me.
yeah. So are we saying the Yellow Lotus brought this thing to your monastery,
Mm-hmm.
or sorry, let me. There's
Mm-hmm.
a pronoun game I'm playing here.
Mm-hmm.
They
Cool.
brought it to the monastery because they are the monk order, or they brought it to the monastery because your monk order could deal with it. In other words, I'm asking, are the Yellow Lotus in your monastery the same entity in the same organization, or are they just linked and allied association there?
I mean, the Yellow Lotus might have been the enforcement arm, I guess, of the
Yeah, yeah,
monastery, and the monastery was basically the basis where they would go and
sure, yeah.
fix
I,
up
I
and stuff.
yeah, I like the idea. We're building two different kind of visions here. Either the Yellow Lotus is like specialists in this thing, or they aren't, and they went to your monastery because you guys are.
Mm.
Um,
Mhm.
and I kind of like both of those. My inclination is that the monastery is a separate organization but works with the
Mhm.
Yellow Lotus.
Yeah, okay,
Um,
cool.
just based
Yeah.
on kind of
You,
the stuff we've
you
set up so far.
used to work with
Yeah. Well, yeah, I used to as of 24 hours ago. Um,
I mean, the monastery has been destroyed
oh
for a
yeah.
bit longer
Oh,
than
that's
24
that's true. Yeah,
hours.
yeah, yeah, that's true. And yeah, actually, okay, well then that solves that plot hole that I did not see coming at my face at 80 miles an hour. Because if the Yellow Lotus was just destroyed last night, then they definitely should not be the same organization. But I
Mm.
definitely see that they could like have brought something in a box
Mhm.
saying "Do
Yeah.
not open," and because
No, I think,
they know your monastery can deal with that stuff.
yeah.
But for whatever reason, it failed this time
Yeah.
or that time, and
Yeah. I mean, maybe they didn't say do not open. They said be careful when you open
right,
it.
right, right. Or
Well,
there you go. Yeah.
well, well, I mean, the monks were thought to be the experts, I guess. And maybe there's more than one of those monasteries, right? Because
Yeah, yeah.
I learned my exorcism skills somewhere and wasn't
Mm.
with the dead people. So,
Oh, yeah. Because if it was 12, like, I mean,
mhm.
you could be a child prodigy by all means.
Yeah.
Um, or
No,
your teacher could be, again, soul survivor is a pretty common trope. I don't mind having a couple soul survivors if we want to say like only your teacher survived and vowed to pass on their technique to you as
Mm.
well. That's
I
an
don't know
option.
because my teacher has now reappeared and that's a big thing. So I think I
Oh,
was
right, of
trained by
course.
somebody else.
Of
Maybe I was trained by the Yellow Lotus. Who knows?
Mm.
oh.
I'm still alive, so maybe I wasn't part of their organization,
Oh.
but kind of adjacent.
Yeah. I like that. That would definitely give you and that would be a pretty powerful sync, which I'm all
Mhm.
about.
Yeah.
Um okay. Uh
Maybe
so
they didn't I wasn't precisely part of their faction because they also thought I was unlucky. So they were like, oh, maybe we're not you're not part of our organization, but we will teach you some skills. And that
Okay,
didn't,
yeah, yeah.
and now they're all gone. Damn it, it didn't work.
Yeah.
We were not far enough. They were too close to me. I'll absolutely blame myself.
Yeah. Let's see. So your mentor was Bitter Claw,
Mhm.
claimed to have
Yeah,
been seen in Princess Invincible's entourage, meaning
yeah,
Bitter Claw was at the attack last night.
yeah.
Oh, that's
Apparently,
juicy.
apparently.
That is um that is fierce. Uh and if you were trained by the Yellow Lotus, I think you would know of, you don't have to be entangled with her, but I think you would also know of Sky Daughter Xiao. Um so I also like that angle as well. Um, that then kind of brings us back to, if that's the case, then I think Yellow Lotus has to have some kind of supernatural affinity as well. Because again, you had to learn your exorcism from someone. Um, unless you like the monastery that you were a part of when they were destroyed, you kept and inherited like their techniques
Yeah.
in written form. Do you have a
Yeah,
preference?
that's probably a good idea that I have
I
these scrolls.
I
Yeah,
like that a little bit better because then that makes
yeah,
you
yeah,
unique.
yeah, yep,
Um,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
I'd
so yeah,
still be somewhat Yellow Lotus adjacent because I
yeah,
think
yeah.
they're traveling a lot. My parents think that is a good idea for a young person like me to go and travel somewhere rather not.
Yeah, let's talk about your parents really quickly because well they aren't on your entanglements anymore. That was an earlier draft of
Yeah,
them. But you said they gave you up to this monastery. Do
yeah.
you maintain contact with
Oh yeah.
your parents? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they're my parents. They had to take me back after the monastery was destroyed, basically,
Oh,
right?
okay, okay.
Right? That was just like, and I think, no, Red Crane believes they love him, but they're scared of the bad luck. So,
Got it. That
and
was going to be
yeah,
a sort of follow-up
yeah.
question there is how do they feel when they were forced to take you back in? Because if they gave you up, if they gave you to a monastery as a baby and then the monastery was destroyed and it's like, oh,
Mhm.
you have to raise this unlucky child.
Yeah,
Uh yeah,
they
yeah.
don't hate me, but they're kind of don't also, they have other children. They don't want this unluck in their house
Oh, they have
precisely.
other you have other
Yeah.
siblings as
I think, yeah,
well.
yeah, I do. I do. I don't know them very
Cool.
well. Obviously,
Um
for obvious reasons.
Yeah. And I assume like the literal day that you were or well, I should float this back by you. Um are you still young enough that you're still living with your parents or was it like on the day that you were able to leave they might have been like here's some rent money, get the fuck out of the house.
They were
Um
very nice about it. They did not say get the fuck out of my house. They
but
were like, you're like
yeah.
this Yellow Lotus people. Maybe they have some use for an exorcist. Here, have this nice horse and go with them. Good
Okay.
luck. I mean, yes, may the gods bless you.
Yeah, okay. Go have some event. Have fun storming the castle.
Yeah, yeah, right. And dress and wear warm socks.
Yes, absolutely. Um, do you maintain contact with your family?
I am very dutiful son. I write them.
Okay, and they write back, I assume.
Yeah, yeah.
Who is your primary contact? Mother, father, elder sibling?
I think it's my mother.
Okay.
Yeah, I write her.
Um,
She writes me.
fantastic. We again,
We are very good pen pals.
um, I we don't need to represent it in entanglement, but I would love to have that as an NPC.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Okay.
is there? She probably wouldn't be well, I guess I should ask you. Are they in the Wulin or are they just civilians?
I think my mother used to, in her youth, maybe be raised, but then she fell in love with this merchant guy and hung up her sword and had her unlucky child.
There you go. I guess the curious thing there being like, do they have a Wulin name? Because again, all of these names that I have sort of preloaded
Mm,
are definitely deed names.
mm,
Um,
okay.
but do any of these NPCs you think work for that character, or
I think they're all a little
a little?
too
That's what I agree.
polished.
Yeah. Um, so
I'll go and look for a picture
yeah. Does this
of a
mother have a name, just so I
yes,
can?
she does. She definitely does. I am
Sure.
Jesse, can I poll you? You seem to be more informed about how Chinese names, what Chinese name would not sound ridiculous.
For
Because
a man, a woman,
for a woman, for my
a woman.
Um,
I almost wanted to say the name, but that is gonna be my real name. So, Xiali is a
Mhm.
name.
Okay, how do I write that?
I'll type it in the chat. I'm used to like writing them with the two syllables. You can also
Okay,
smash them
thank you.
together
it,
however you
Yeah,
like.
I,
I know
okay.
that's a real name because that's the name that my friend had in China. So
Oh, okay,
it's not a
okay,
ridiculous name. It's a real name.
okay, okay.
It's
Is it okay for you if that's Red Crane's mother?
yeah, totally.
Okay, cool, thank you. And we'll take that one.
I could be mistaken, but I feel like in throughout history, China goes through phases where it's like two syllable names are the most common, then like three syllable names will be the most common, then two syllable and three syllable. But it
Yeah.
looks like based on what we've got going on, we are in a two syllable situation.
Yeah. I mean, like this would just be like the first name, right? So you'd get three syllables if you
Mhm.
tack on the yeah.
Yeah.
The house name. Okay.
Yeah. The house that should maybe I can't pronounce it, but something like gong. It's pronounced
Mhm.
differently. But
Like
ooh,
Like
um
yeah,
Gong.
yeah.
and it probably
Gong
have
man.
it'd be the I feel like if I see that syllable in pinyin, it usually has the line, so it'd be like gong.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, okay.
cool. I just put that name in the notes of your character sheet just so I have it if I need it. Okay. This monastery, uh, I feel like it should also have a name just so I have something to
Mm.
refer back to. Um,
Oh, something with a bird?
I was also thinking like if Featherstroke is your style, I feel like a bird should be
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah,
an avian theme should be
Yeah.
yeah,
invoked.
yeah.
There are some oh those are style names. Hang on, let me screenshot. I've got some faction names from the Hearts of Wulin book, and
Mm.
I will shove those into the Zoom chat. And feel free to cannibalize them as we need. I think that's it. Yeah. Those are just some easy faction names. Um, do I have any from my document?
Yes. Ooh, I want a mythological bird. Yes, please.
Oh, like a rock or a condor? Well, condor, right?
Jazzy put something in
The
the chat.
Qingwei. I feel like it might kind of be symbolic for your character because it's like roughly a girl drowns or like a person drowns and then they get like reincarnated into a bird. So
Oh,
it's like this really bad luck. makes you something else, transformed.
That's cool. I like that. Yes.
Like that's a very I linked the page because I was like, that's sort of semi what I remember.
Okay, that's very cool.
I also
Thank
linked
you.
my prep doc just so that I had a couple things just preloaded if I needed to pull them. But I feel like it'd probably actually be helpful if I shared that with you all as well. Again, none of those things are they're made to be mutated and shifted. So don't use them as prescriptive. Pull from them if you think they are helpful. But yeah, so the Jingwei, we should get like an adjective. What would be a cool adjective for them?
Um, wise.
The Wise Jingwei Monastery.
Yeah.
Love it.
Um,
Fantastic.
We love when our monasteries are wise.
you'd assume, right? If you're a monk, you're kind of if
I
you're a
do
monk
love
and
that
not
they have to
wise.
put it in the name because that kind of implies that some of them are not wise. Like it's such a subtle but great jab.
Yeah, I mean,
Fantastic.
sometimes, you don't do it for the other monks, you just do it for the normal people who wouldn't otherwise notice something wise a bit them on the nose.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Right. Um, I'm just gonna put that on your character sheet just so I have something
Oh,
to
okay.
refer to. So it is
Okay.
the Wise Jingwei.
Monastery.
Um, Fantastic. Everyone thinks you are Dancing Phoenix's lover.
Yeah, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just purely based on the bird teams. Like you're at Crane, they're dancing Phoenix. I think we can all see what's happening here.
Yeah. And I'm also super polite, and maybe she's kind of playing with that a little.
Mm.
And maybe she doesn't want ton of um, suitors or something. So yeah, you know. And my character is far too naive to ever realize what's going on.
Maybe she was also born on an unlucky day because that might be why
Mm.
she doesn't have a lot of suitors.
Maybe. Yeah,
Uh,
I don't know.
or she's unlucky for other reasons.
Maybe she thinks she's unlucky.
Maybe she thinks she's unlucky. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's just
And
what she tells people, and she's not interested in suitors.
yeah. Or maybe she's just in love with Jung-hoo and can never get over that and just doesn't want anyone else.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I wonder why did your heart break for her?
Yeah, let's talk about
what happened there.
Yeah. I mean, I think the easiest thing is because she did not succumb to my charms. I was like, but okay. What's special about you? I gotta find out.
Mhm. Yeah. How far back does this courtship with Dancing Phoenix go? Let's learn a little bit more about her.
Yeah, I think if I fled and am coming back, several years at least.
Okay.
Yeah, not as far back as the incident, but between 5 and 10 years, we'll say. Give it a little bit of time to simmer.
5 to 10 years. Fantastic. Um, yeah, and like I said, the way that I kind of see the Phoenix, what do I call them? Phoenix Medicinal Bureau or some such. Um, the Phoenix School of Medicine, effectively fantasy Red Cross.
Mhm.
They're also, but they're martial artists because this is Hearts of Wulin. Don't ask me how it makes sense. Healers kick people in
Yeah.
I mean, they
Wuxia a
have to
lot.
get to
Right, you
where
have to.
the hurt people are, and that's
Yeah.
It's
not
not always
easy when
safe.
everybody's
Yeah.
always fighting.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like a strange parallel between Cyberpunk and Wuxia is the healers also kick ass.
Hmm.
I don't,
Yeah.
it's just
Crash cart.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also
Um,
sometimes if you hit the chi just right,
exactly. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
right, then people get better,
Two
even though they
Yeah.
sides of the
might
same
have a
coin.
bruise.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and in fact, when the Wise Jingwei Monastery was wiped out, it might have been like the Phoenix Medicinal, Phoenix School of Medicine that like came in and
Mm.
uh, helped nurse Red Crane if Red Crane was
Mm.
wounded, nurse Red Crane back to
Maybe.
health. Maybe.
I mean, if he wasn't wounded, he was very traumatized.
Yeah,
So
and they might also provide therapy services. I've never really seen therapy be a thing in Wuxia,
I
but
was gonna say I don't think they can because then like none of the things that we're gonna have to deal
that's
with.
actually fair.
No.
Yeah, no,
True.
If
we have to
any of
be.
these characters had one session of therapy, none of this
Yeah,
story is gonna
yeah.
happen.
That's actually a very fair point. So no
It's the same in
therapy.
like Arthurian lore. If Lancelot Gilag had like one fucking group session with Arthur and Guinevere,
Mhm.
none of this would
Legit.
have happened.
That's right. That's right. Let's talk about this debt that you are honoring to Red Crane.
Yeah.
What do the two of you think that might be, given everything we've talked about so far?
So if I owe them something, that means they
They
saved me at
Mhm.
some point, or protected or protected me from someone who was mad about who I was going after.
Maybe somebody you got into some kerfuffle and were
Yeah.
cursed by someone, and I
Oh,
made
and
a
you,
and
yeah,
I
I love
basically
that.
helped you with that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't have no
someone's
idea why someone would curse you. You're
yeah,
such a swell guy.
someone's angry husband or wife.
True. Also, Jung-hoo, we should get you like some kind of faction to attach to. Do you think it might
Yeah.
be like a family clan?
Yeah, if we
I'm
want to go with like a sibling getting involved in one of the big events, maybe that's that.
yeah. Uh, yeah. So let's see. Oh, yeah. If that was, I'm starting to rethink the idea that the 22 years ago thing. I'm starting to rethink maybe that was instead of it being 22 years ago, that was when like the Wise Jingwei Monastery was wiped out. So we can move that up
Oh yeah, yeah.
in time. Um, that way you don't have to have like a sibling that's like
20 years older.
yeah, like yeah, 20 years older than you, or yeah, and that also well. I want it to be far enough out just to like, pull behind the veil a little bit. I want it to be far enough out that like none of you guys remember or were there to remember what was going on, because kind of the whole thing
Yeah.
is the fact that I can change the details of what happened as we need to in the story.
Yeah.
But yeah, if your sibling can still be like 10-ish years older than you if you want to go that route.
Yeah, and they were part of the Righteous Alliance or one of them.
Yeah.
And I think for me, we could maybe just say like if I was like I'd still be pretty young, but maybe not like, oh, you're a child, I can't kill you young, but maybe like me and a villain parent were like for whatever reason just not present, right? And we escaped the trauma, but still like saw everybody wiped out. So we could still play with that, I think.
Oh, yeah. Were you part of the Wicked Pavilion? Do you think, or you mentioned being saved by Princess Invincible?
Yeah, I was originally thinking that I was like they were raising me as that. And then because I would have been like, if it's 22 years out, like maybe like 4 or something, like Invisible Princess would have been like, I'm not killing a 4-year-old just because their parents sucked. I'm the hero, actually. But if I would have been like 12-ish, I mean, like, I feel like a hero would still be like, I'm not
Mhm.
gonna
Yeah.
kill a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I guess we could just keep it. Maybe I was going to go there or something to avenge my family, but got interrupted by like this other hero that saved me, or like,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Or it could just simply be that we weren't involved at all, and I was just a different assassin sect, right?
no.
But I like this idea of having like a hero that was like gonna take care of me. Maybe they failed something, or maybe yeah, maybe it wasn't Princess Invincible. Maybe it was like another hero present
Mhm.
there that like fairly quickly in the conflict was like, hey, there's a 12-year-old here. I
Yeah.
need to evacuate this 12-year-old. And maybe then
Mhm.
someone close to them died and they were like, oh, if I hadn't done, if I hadn't left, that wouldn't have happened.
Mm.
And they spiraled sort of in that way.
Mm.
Yeah. And if it wasn't Princess Invincible, I do like the idea of having this character who has a little bit of a fuzzy relationship with history, especially from the villain
Hmm.
and hero perspective. So like if a hero took you away from the fighting thinking Princess Invincible would kill you,
Ooh.
um, then Princess Invincible still wiped out like everyone that was dear to you.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And now her reappearance has a potential for revenge.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah. What if it was this? So like Princess Invisible, presumably she had pupils, right? That she was
mhm.
like studying. So what if she saw me? She's like, you're a child. I'm not gonna kill you, but also, I need to kill everyone else. So basically, she's like, I'm not gonna let you just become Batman. I need someone to take an eye, like keep an eye on you, right?
Mm.
So she
Mhm.
orders her pupil, like through, the trust that they have, like, you get this child away from here. You raise her to be good and brave and whatever. But then that hero also kind of started spiraling, and she wasn't raised to be kind and good and all of that
Mm.
um, through sort of like the whole tragedy of, yeah, you can't just be like, fix a child after also killing everyone they've ever known. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
when she, yeah, reappears, I'm gonna be like, how interesting, how
Yeah.
fascinating.
Um, yeah, we should come up with
But yeah,
a name for this. So the two things I've
yeah,
got kind of on the plate are Jianghu's faction, which if it's family, then it might
Yeah.
just be like the Hu clan.
Yeah.
yeah. I
And
was gonna say,
I'm
sorry, all that just to say that moving the timeline is totally fine.
yeah, I'm more and more fine with moving the timeline
Mhm.
as necessary. So maybe it wasn't 22 years ago, maybe it was 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And then we can link it all up with the destruction of the Wise Jingwei Monastery, the destruction of Wicked Pavilion, um, the the Hu clan. Did your sibling Zhang Hu? Did your sibling survive that fight?
I do not think they did. No.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Got it. I actually took a note on that. Sibling hero died in the Righteous Alliance fight.
But I answered the
Um,
same.
yeah. Um, he told me that. I wrote it down and then just
Doesn't mean I remember
um,
it.
fantastic. And the Hu clan specializes in the beggar. The beggar's drum is like your family's fighting style, then.
No, I think that's something I picked up on in my travels.
Oh, then
Yeah.
we need to find out who your teacher is.
Yeah.
And like whether or not you feel because the question, in Hearts of Wulin, the question is like, who do you owe your loyalty to? And is it to
Mm.
your teacher or to and I guess it can technically be both. Um uh yeah, is this is this, I guess I should ask, because this is also a world building thing. Is your
Mhm.
education a single master, single student, like a very Sith Star Wars kind of relationship?
I think it's more that, yeah, than a
Okay, okay,
school
okay.
school. I think it's more like I not orphaned, but went off on my own. Probably didn't do great at first, and then wasn't necessarily taken in by whoever the teacher was, but kind of like attached myself to them. It's like,
Okay.
you seem really cool, and you're going to be my teacher now. And he's like, no, fuck off. But eventually, after a lot of trials in the woods, and that
Yeah.
a
A lot of kowtowing and delivering water, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So the two things I'm going to want from you, I'm definitely going to want a name for your teacher,
Yeah.
and also this elder sibling who died during the Righteous Alliance fight.
Mhm.
Um, so you can think of those. It also feels like it's a good time to take like a good like 5 minute break.
Mhm.
Can we
So
take a
let's
little longer break
sure,
so I
absolutely.
can get something to my milk heater takes 5 minutes to heat and
I'm actually in the same boat, and every time it's a 5 minute break, I'm like, but I could make coffee if it was 10. Yeah, let's. I'm gonna give out some homework, and then we will take a at least a 10 minute break, maybe even 11 or 12. We're at like 12 till the hour, or 2 till the hour. So, but yeah, Jung-hoo, I would love to have a name for your teacher. I'd love to have a name for your elder sibling. If you do keep in contact with the rest of the Who clan or any other survivors, kind of similar to Red Crane's relationship with the mother, that's
Mhm.
also a possible route in. Um, so think on those things. And Shushin, yeah, the name of this assassin school also, like, think of how large it was. Similar situation if it's like a one master one apprentice kind of situation, and who like the name of your teacher was, who taught you your currently as of yet unnamed style and element situation. Um, Also, we'll check. Oh yeah, 222200 minus one is a applicable spread. Um,
Yeah, I was like, it's the only one we don't have.
I've never seen anyone take the 22 minus one.
I like
So
having a +2 in PBTA games. I feel like a +1 is rarely ever useful.
I
I'm
absolutely agree.
min-maxing this. I am min-maxing
Uh,
PBTA. Come fight me.
I can't remember if Lowell like moved to a one array set or not, but yeah, we'll use the three arrays that we've been given because they're in the book. Anyways, sorry, it is the hour. Let's go ahead, and I don't think I have any homework necessarily for Red Crane. I think we've talked a lot about that. I'm not sure if there's much more I can milk out of the story without.
I will just make some tea.
Absolutely. Let's come back at 10, 11, 12-ish past the hour, somewhere in that ballpark. But yeah, see you all there. Okay, and we are back. Cool. So I got those notes about Jung-hoo. We have opinion pronunciation Jung-hoo. Uh as your elder, I'm guessing, brother.
It's gonna be a brother, yeah.
Yeah. Elder brother died in the Righteous Alliance conflict, and then you have a teacher, Seo Yun, who actually taught you Beggar's Drum. Answer can be don't know, but is Seo Yun with like totally withdrawn from society, uh, or
Yeah, I think he's or he or they not withdrawn from society, but probably like on the fringes, kind of like
okay.
probably like does go into town to run scams or steal, or
Yeah.
not a yeah not a bad guy, but just a not in society.
Um, I should bring this up as a sort of world building note. there's a concept in Hearts of Wulin between like the orthodox and the unorthodox, or the righteous and the unrighteous, and we see this in Wuxia a lot. Cat, please don't. Tally, I love you, but please don't. She wants to bite cords. Oh my god. Uh, uh, so when I mentioned the Righteous Alliance, if you have the Hearts of Wulin book, it's also like the Orthodox clans, and these are clans that uh, uh, participate cordially in the Wulin world, and generally make up the bulk of Wulin society. And then you have the unrighteous clans, which the Wicked Pavilion, as the name would suggest. This is a world that I go back and forth as to whether or not it is actually fundamentally evil, or whether or not that's just the perception of the world. But certainly the perception of the world is that there is tangible good and evil in the world. And of course there are things like demons and hell in this world. So it's not an unreasonable assumption. But I think essentially the way that I'm sort of leaning in this world of defining righteous and unrighteous, or orthodox and unorthodox, are people who draw from or parlay with these darker forces are going to tend to be seen as unrighteous. And so part of this righteous alliance is a bunch of Wulin sects came together, which is not something that normally happens in Wulin society, or at least not at the scale and strength that they did to defeat the Wicked Pavilion, because this single unorthodox Wulin sect had become so powerful that it was at risk of something apocalyptic and catastrophic, darkness washing over the land, the armies of Sauron, that kind of thing. So yeah, just sort of introducing that sort of idea into the world building as we talk about, especially as we move the major battle, the Righteous Alliance battle, forward up in the timeline a little bit. Because I think this is going to play out a little bit in Shuxin's exploration of villainy in this story. With that in mind, Su Yun, do we believe that they were present at the Righteous Alliance battle, or is this something they sat out of? Got it.
No,
Got it. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, they're probably seen as unrighteous, but they're actually righteous.
And I should also say there's also ambiguous. So, for example, in a lot of Wulin stories, there's the Beggars sect, which
that's
is
exactly where I want him.
Yeah, absolutely. So ambiguity is perfectly fine here. So yeah, you are an ambiguous, and that also is going to like relate on how other people in the Wulin world see you as well. But the Hu clan, interestingly, was present at the Righteous Alliance battle, and Shanhu perished fighting the Wicked Pavilion. All that good to know.
And I think Jade Wind, my sibling who is learning techniques from Shuxin, is probably younger.
Jade Wind.
Yeah, that's my general entanglements.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Probably a younger sister, maybe? Keep it.
Let me look at, do we have Jade Wind in the NPC?
Yeah, that was on the, I just grabbed them off the NPC tab.
Jade Wind.
Maybe sister, maybe non-binary, who knows? I'm gonna make them a sheet then.
There we are, Jade Wind. Okay. Jade Wind is your younger sibling. But also,
and I think they're like they may be adopted or like brought into the family, or like they were not like adopted, but kind of whoever their family was couldn't take care of them, and my family was well off enough to take care of them for us, and like a sibling, but probably not blood sibling.
Yeah. And Shuixin, you have a student, or you have somebody who's learning techniques from you. Um,
Absolutely.
okay, so
Yeah, I named my style, so there we go.
Ice Dragon Dart, and it is an Earth style. Fantastic.
Yeah. I,
Um,
I think it has like a combination of the style from the hero that like who I picked this the Stone of Sorrow and Wrath. I think like he trained me, but also assassins trained me, right? So it's like this weird mix of like a very heroic style using your environment, like standing strong, and then like your very typical like using poison and darts and blending back into the shadows. And it's like this style that just throws everyone off because it's like it's one or the other. What are you doing combining them? Don't be
mhm,
doing
mhm.
that. And maybe that is what I'm teaching your sibling. I also imagine that given that I also have a demon, maybe I have knowledge about, chi and poisons that really shouldn't be known by humans. And maybe I'm not super careful
Yeah.
about keeping that to myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Fantastic. Okay, wow. God, I'm so glad we only have three player characters because if we had four, I think my head would explode.
Yeah,
Um,
this is so much information for you.
this is just fair warning. I think we probably won't get into gameplay today just because yeah, I think yeah, I mentioned this but I don't
Yeah,
think
super
Sabine was on.
fair.
Um so so let's just keep world building a little bit then in that case. Let's see. Um
I named the assassins if you want that.
that was what I was looking for. Yes. Your teacher, right? No,
Yeah, so the way I think, because I think that I've not been very clear about this, but I basically think like I started with Wicked Pavilion, right? Like I
mm-hmm.
think why not we're protagonists? Let's say that my mom was like a very important person there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I saw that picture of Ice Blood Ning, which obviously would have been what she looked like, 12 years ago.
Sure.
Not now. But I think that could have been my mother. She died. Then I got adopted by, let's see, I had it here. Yeah, by the Stone of Sorrow and Wrath. Um, So I said he adopted Sin out of piety to Princess Invincible. And I actually kind of want to make it that he really was a good guy, and he like really did, what Princess Invincible asked. But there was also this assassin sect that like saw Sui Xian and was like, because I was old enough. I'm gonna think maybe I was like 12, 14 when this happened. So I was definitely old enough to feel like I should have protected my family and I should hate who killed them, out of principle. And even though he was really good and he was taking care of me, I feel like I just would have been like, if I love you, I betray my parents. Like I betray everyone that you killed, right? So I'm not going to do that. And now those assassins presumably, saw a very angry, sad child and were like, how interesting. So they are called the Winter Moon. They're the Assassins of the Winter Moon, and I picked the NPC Ashen Dawn, they, them, who I think is the leader of the Winter Moon. So they basically kind of like secretly trained me. Maybe the stone knew, maybe he didn't. I feel like that's like, very much like my rebellious child is doing rebellious things, and I don't always know what they're up to. Um, yeah, and I think both of those people, definitely Stone, thinks I'm dead. The leader, Ashendon, may have very well be the one who ordered me dead, right? So they might be surprised, or they might like fully also know that I'm back and keep that a secret until they can send someone after me. I feel like that is up um for story, whatever we want to do with that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think those are
Um,
sort of like the three Or like the two factions, because Wicked Pavilion is kind of over. But you have like
Yeah.
the Winter Moon Assassins, and you have, and the Stone is just like that's just one person, right? I think he probably has like his own, his own style called, let's just call it Earth Dragon or like Stone Dragon. And that's why I also have like the dragon thing in my name, where I'm like kind of paying homage, but not really, because I'm angry and sad at everyone. Um,
Yeah. So just to summarize it for my own self, it sounds like your
mhm.
adoptive father was Stone of Sorrow and Wrath.
Yep.
He has a style called Earth Dragon style. Some of it you picked up because
Hmm.
he's in the Wulin, he's in the martial forest, and would have taught some of this stuff to you. Your mother, your biological mother, Iceblood Ning, uh, she died.
He got
Um,
murked by
uh,
someone. Yeah.
Probably if she was in the Wicked Pavilion, she probably got killed by Princess Invincible then.
Yeah.
Um,
Because you said like I don't want anyone of you to be present there. I don't want to like lock that in. But I think it's once again like Suishin believes that's what happens, right? But maybe I didn't see it very clearly, and I just
yeah,
know that, yeah.
yeah. To clarify my position on that, it's that I want memories there to be incomplete or
Mhm.
unclear or something on that vein, and so
Yeah.
a combination of you were 12 at the time, and
And very
also
traumatized.
you were also pulled away from the fighting before you could see like the
Mhm.
ultimate end of it. I think opens plenty of doors to the stuff that I'm looking for
Yeah.
out of that
And I'm
relationship.
also like
um
always open to be like, I thought that's how it happened, but and also I think especially with my character, we do have the sort of the retcon door where I did die, I went to hell, I came back. Like if we want to say like something fucked up my memories, like Datie is doing something to my memories, I feel like that's super fair, right? So
Absolutely.
however we, yeah.
Yeah, I think we have plenty of, like I said, open door
Hmm.
to play around with the events of that day, because again, that's a huge wuxia trope to be like,
I
here's
thought I knew
one angle of
something.
the
Yeah.
battle, here's the other angle of the battle where the somebody you didn't see in the first angle changes everything.
Hmm.
That is absolutely something I am striving for. Okay. Whew. That also I think kind of sets a timeline, because how old is Shuixin? Because if they were 12 and they're say 24 now, then we know that the battle happened 12 years ago, for example. Basic
Hmm.
math. Um,
Yeah, I was I mean also looking at like how old the other characters want to be because I don't want to be like significantly older or younger.
yeah,
But
that's
it feels like wuxia characters are often like especially because like we're kind of like new to the world and like we don't have an established name. I feel like something like 24-ish feels fair to me. Like you've done your training, you've maybe had a few adventures, and now you're like, I'm gonna make my name. Um, yeah, I feel like something like I feel like yeah, like
yeah.
12, 14, something I like that. Young
How
enough where Princess Invisible would have been like, you're a child, get out. But old enough for I would have felt like, no, I was totally a grown up and I could have taken her, you know?
I think that's absolutely perfect. Does that work for everyone else? Looking
Yeah.
particularly at like Red Crane. Um,
When was the monastery thing related to the other stuff? Was that the same
that's
time frame?
that's what I was going to ask, is if it's close enough, we could just say that the monastery was wiped out during these events, that like the battle even took place possibly at the monastery.
No, I don't think so. I think it
Okay.
was supernatural thing,
Okay.
ghosts,
Yeah, yeah.
something.
So
Uh,
those two, so the Righteous Alliance conflict and the
yeah,
destruction of the Wise Jingwei Monastery
yeah.
are
Maybe that was
unrelated.
that happened a year later because of reasons. They found maybe the Yellow Lotus guys found the cursed thing when they were going through the Wicked Pavilion stuff, and then they brought it to the monastery, and then yeah, that got fucked up.
Yeah. Part of the sync that I wrote, there's this Marshall manuscript, the Book of Eight Thunders. Now, I didn't initially anticipate it being like a supernatural thing, and it doesn't have to be the manuscript because that's just a a technique. But maybe it was something related to that conflict, and like the angry ghosts all jumped out of it, or
Mm.
Yeah, maybe it was the
um,
ghost of the wicked pavilion who jumped out of the whatever the
yeah, yeah,
monks
yeah.
tried to contain. I think I met your mother, Shuzhen, when she, well, briefly.
Ooh,
They
yeah,
probably had never recognized those ghosts. I was pretty much I was sequestered away, and I was told to protect myself, and I did that. And I didn't think that everybody else would be dead when I came looking, right? I mean, I think the feather I'm fighting with the quill, that is the peacock. Oh no, wait, yeah, that's the peacock feather. And it is a weird thing. Like my mentor gave it to me and said, use this to protect yourself, and then close the door. I was like, okay, yeah. And
fantastic.
I still got that thing. That's what I use.
And do you,
It's very important for me.
absolutely, yeah. And so if the Righteous Alliance conflict we're saying happened, let's just go ahead and pencil in 12 years
Mhm.
ago.
Mhm.
Um, would the destruction of Wise Jingwei Monastery happening 11 years ago then fit with your
Yep.
mental time frame of events?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. Yep. That would be a year or so younger than Jin. And yeah. And I don't know how old Zhang Hu is, but probably same age bracket, right?
Like mid late 20s, yeah.
Yeah.
Wise Jingwei Monastery destruction 11 years ago. Fantastic. And so yeah, Junghu, you're also in that sort of like early 20s, early mid 20s age
Mid to
bracket.
late 20s, probably, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God. Wow. This is
This is a lot.
so much information. Don't get me, I love it. This is, this is all such excellent fodder for a big, giant, sprawling epic. But I'm also anticipating being like, it's so and so, and you go, who? um, no, who, as in the Who clan. No. Um, fantastic. Um, I think I have enough information to start drawing stuff together. So the last thing that you guys have to do is set your initial bonds. Your bonds are mechanically you can uh, invoke a bond with a player to get +1 on your rolls after the fact. It's a post roll manipulation. Um, your starting bonds, you get two, one from each of your entanglements, and they should be attached to one of the characters in said bond. Um, so go ahead and I guess look through your entanglements if you're happy with them. And I think we've gone through all of them, right? Um, so if you're happy with your entanglements as they are set, go through your entanglements, pick one of the NPCs appearing in each one, and give yourself a bond with them.
I can't pick a
Define.
PC, right?
Yes, yes, they can be a PC.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm power gaming this. I'm picking PCs.
Yeah, and invoking them can be just nebulous, or sort of like in a CF in a car from Brindlewood sort of framework. It's like we might see a flash of like how your relationship to Shishin, like even if they're not present in the scene, it's like how does your crush on them empower you to push a little harder and and fight for success there. So that's kind of the idea there. Jazzy, since you've, I don't know if this is in Hearts of Camelot, But if somehow, I've never seen this happen before, and one of the reasons I want to run a slightly longer game is I'm kind of hoping this happens at some point. If your bonds go, there are certain things that give you bonds, certain moves like comfort and support and so on. But if you have a bond, if you have 3 bond with somebody and it would go to 4, instead you erase them, you mark XP, and you reveal something about that person that you have a bond with. So much like the study move that lets you define details about the scene or the story, you can also define things about other characters with their permission, of course. But yeah, it's a really fun little narrative power that you guys have. So yeah. Let's see. Cool. I think I just want to take like the last little bit of the session today to really go over that Our Fantastic World tab and make sure that this looks like something that we all are on board with. So if you head over to the Our Fantastic World tab, very much stealing from like Good Society, the collaboration tab. And because we are dealing with a sort of nebulous level of fantasticity, that's not a word, I'm making it one. Fantasticness, there you go. Sort of agreeing on some of these things is useful, I think. So first question is like, how wild is this world? And the way I'm kind of looking at it is, again, sort of Tolkien-esque, or the relationship between, Tolkien and Europe, which is to say this world looks very classically Chinese, but we're saying that monsters and spirits exist, as do the people that thwart them. But most people, I think, generally do not encounter demons in their life. It's not a thing that, Jin the farmer wakes up like, gee, I hope a horse demon doesn't come and ruin my harvest today. That's not a reasonable fear. It would be extremely traumatic if that was to occur. The idea is the Wulin world is still organized. There are perhaps some sects out there, like for example, they don't exist anymore, but the Wise Jingwei Monastery that actually might have techniques on how to deal with supernaturals. But most Wulin sects are still engaged with each other, and so the techniques are still very mundane. As a general rule, the first time you encounter a supernatural entity, it is going to be above your scale. I'll have to look at where exactly that passage is, but I remember reading that in the Fantastic Wuxia breakdown in Hearts of Wulin. And that is part of what is written into the face the supernatural. When you face a new supernatural manifestation alongside the unready is the trigger for that move. And so that is kind of built into this a little bit. Now, that said, I'm more bought into fictional positioning. So, for example, Xue Xin has some experience with demons and might not immediately be at lower scale. We'll jump that fictional hurdle when we get to it. But cool. The gods, if they exist, they're at least distant, if not entirely silent. Direct manifestations of the gods are not known to occur. I think that's pretty easily self-explanatory, although it does kind of say something where like demons are a thing that we've encountered before, but no one has seen like the celestials might have an impact on the worldview. We know from Shuixin that travel to the underworld is possible, as is return from it, but it does require a specialist of some kind, I think. And yeah, that's something that I think we might be interested in looking at. And last but not least, this is true of largely of Hearts of Wulin in general, but it is assumed that Emperor is not reachable, as in they are physically several cities away. We are in a not necessarily rural area, but there is an imperial authority that can be invoked. There is an empire, but you were probably more dealing with like county magistrates and things along there. I haven't decided. I don't know if I care enough whether to decide that the emperor is an emperor or empress, but they are emperor empress not appearing in this story most likely, unless something significantly changes. Um, and then last, I would like to, just open up the floor like one more time. Now that we've gone through all of this process, now that we've met these characters, this is also going to kind of be our debrief for the day. Although I guess if you have stars for, I don't know, other players' details or things that came up in character creation or entanglement building, you want to give a star to somebody already, that'd be fantastic. But I don't think it's necessary at this point. But consider this sort of a wishes at the top of the game after everything we've discussed so far. But I will go ahead and just open the floor up to y'all.
I want to meet these characters. That is both a star and a wish, because they are both very interesting and intriguing, and I want to meet both of them, and I want also to meet some of the NPCs. And also I want to exercise something. Please. Maybe. I don't have to, but it would be nice if I could use that in some way, shape, or form.
Fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, I can't wait to meet these characters as well. I'm deliberately leaving like how your characters met in Nebula space. But if you guys have ideas, by all means, they're yours to have.
Yeah. The characters, the world, everything seems super juicy, super fun. I think I'm most interested in seeing out because I think I'm less involved with supernatural stuff than the others, so it'd be really interesting to see how the that sounds rough buddy guy interfaces with demons, and yeah, it's gonna be great.
Yeah, I was laughing that there's like two very dramatic people who are like, we ruin everyone around us, and then like Mark's character is like, oh, that's rough, buddy. Want to go have a drink?
Yeah.
I'm just already so in love with what that dynamic is going to bring. And yeah, I think General Star, I feel like, like this was a lot of information, a lot of like going through it, but I do feel like everyone like kind of kept bringing it back to the same threats. Like I think it feels kind of overwhelming now, but it does feel like all of that information, or like not all of it maybe, but like most of it can be squished into a plot rather than like some people like bringing in the factions that are just, like very cool, but, like, oh, that sounds like they're on like a completely different island or something. I think that everybody kind of kept like bringing it back, like, oh, what could happen? What could all of these people get enmeshed together? Um, so that sounds super cool. Yeah, I want to have some cool fight scenes. I mean, we're in a wuxia game. We're gonna have to freaking fight some people. And I would love a dramatic, like last second rescue, like Sky Daughter Xiao sees a blade coming at her, and then at the very last second, like someone snatches it, and there's like the moment. Like I think that's a very fun trope. Um, yeah, we have some really cool NPCs and PCs, and I'm just very excited. Um, yeah, I think I made the theme for my character clear that I'm like want to interact with, where it's just like, what does it mean to be good or evil? Can you be good if there's an actual demon inside of you? We'll have to figure that out, I guess. And I guess what does it mean for a demon to be a demon? Because I feel like, especially in like Chinese mythology, it's not like in Christian mythology where there are like sort of by default super, super evil. They kind of just have their part to play. Or like the way that I understand it. So I think that's something interesting to explore.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I would like to give a start for your preparation with this background that was really juicy, and we could interact with it, and that you were flexible enough to say, okay, this could be that and this could be that. We can change this and that. That was really nice. I love that.
Awesome. Thank you. That's so incredibly helpful. I've been sweating bullets on like what to prep and how to prep. I've been bugging a couple other people I know who've GM'd this game about like, oh, what do you think, guys, here? Like, so thank you. And also like star to all three of you for going through me with me on this process. I know there's some other Hearts of Wulin GMs who are like, bang, 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 we're gonna bang out character creation and we're gonna get in playing as fast as possible. I'm like I said, I'm new to this and I really wanted to make sure that we had a nice, good world building because again, we are running a little bit longer of a game that I'm also used to playing in Hearts of Wulin. So I felt like, really, really respecting the time for a good session zero. But now that we've done it, I'm going to try and collate this data as best I can and give it back to you guys. I'm probably going to open up like a records tab on the character keeper so we all just have like a quick reference of like what these things are. Um, oh my god, how did you find that? Swear to God, this cat. Start of my adorable little kitten. But yeah, my wish. Oh man, I had a wish and then it just went out of my head. Um, oh, part of the what I wanted to do with the sync and setup, and you guys have engaged with so far, but I definitely want to make like from my end. I feel like a lot of wuxia deals with this sort of question of like what is evil versus good. Even in TV shows like The Untamed, you're told that this character was like the pinnacle of evil, but in all of their flashback scenes, you actually see that they are a genuinely sweet human being. What caused the Wulin world to feel that they were? What is the definition of evil? Who gets to define evil and why? And like even in stuff like Laughing with the Wind, you have this character called Wicked Woman who for all intents and purposes is not wicked or at least does nothing within the fiction that you'd be like, yes, she's a horrible human being, but she's part of an unorthodox sect and that is a criminal action. And I want to find out the hypocrisy here. So that's part of this whole setup where you've got a person who was a hero in Princess Invincible now just wiped out a group of people. Um, and I really want to explore like, yeah, what is the definition of villainy? Who gets to define villainy? What do we as players see as villainy in this world? What does the Wulin world see as unrighteous? Um, and when are the good guys hypocrites? When are the bad guys good? When are the why? Yeah, all of that is like stuff that I'm living with and want to use this story to explore. And it sounds like we've got a good setup for that. So yeah, thank you all for indulging and engaging. And I can't wait to tell some spooky ghost stories with you all. And yeah.
I will exercise now.
Yes. Yeah, we'll definitely get an exorcism in there somewhere.
Red
Nobody
Crane gonna exercise a demon and Christian's like, no, that's Satya's buddy. You can't be doing that.
Yeah.
But they're no, they are stepping on puppies.
You just need to get to know them better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Maybe that was a bad puppy.
In fact, like
No, I feel that no, no, that was not there. Look at that puppy. Look how cute it looks.
Evil.
in this world, Red Crane Sabine, what would you recognize as like a sign of demonic possession?
Um, oh, that's a good question. I think what you would see is the face becomes extremely pale, and you can see the veins of these people who are possessed. That's why they wear heavy makeup, so you can't see that.
Cool.
But But yeah, and also you can see that sometimes on the arms, and it's more pronounced than usual at the wrists, with they are really thick, so they need to wear long sleeves to hide the veins coming through, and gloves and stuff like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think actually, um, everybody got their wishes. I mean, again, we're on a Discord server together. So if you have other wishes, actually, well, I mean, the wishes that we've got so far are put here in the collaboration tab. Um, so yeah, if everybody feels like they've got their wishes out, thank you. I can't wait to start telling the story with you all. And so I will leave you guys with this little stinger, that in the pre-dawn hours, Tally, I love you here. In the pre-dawn hours of this town, we see the smoking ruins of the Yellow Lotus Escort Bureau in the background, um, down at the far end of a street. And we just see bodies, sort of littered outside. Um, but closer to the camera, more in the foreground, we see one of the, not Sky Daughter, but one of the last remaining um, Yellow Lotus members, holding a spear with a point towards the ground and sort of like running up along their back. And as they turn to face the camera, we see that their face is ashen and pale, and there are black veins of corruption running up their cheeks, and their eyes are glassy and empty. And that is the trailer for our upcoming Hearts of Wulin session, or Hearts of Wulin game. So I will see you all next week, and we might even begin with an exorcism. So, all right, guys.
Nice. Okay. Thanks for running this, and yeah.
See you next time.
Bye.
Yep, have a good one, guys.